Hi, welcome to Life in the Renaissance. I'm going to talk about health. If you were born in the Renaissance period, you'd have a 20% chance of living past the first year of age. In other words, if you had five brothers and sisters, four of them would die, and you might see them die. It was really very sad. You'd have only a 50% chance of living past the age of 10. So you and your five brothers and sisters, by the time you were 10, two or so brothers and sisters would have died. The top diseases in the Renaissance, the top three, were smallpox, diarrhea, and diarrhea killed most of the infants under the age of 1 during the Renaissance. And the major cause of diarrhea was cholera. And then there's bubonic plague, which you probably have all have heard about. The people in the Renaissance thought that disease was caused by punishment from God for being wicked, doing something wrong, the alignment of the stars, or the physicians who were doing studying and scientific, sometimes autopsies, thought there was an imbalance among four humors or liquids: black bile, yellow bile, blood, and phlegm. Phlegm is mucus. The first disease that could kill was smallpox. The symptoms, you'd start with just a runny nose or feeling feverish, and then within about 4 days, there'd be little poxes breaking out on your skin, and then you would be really sick, and 60% of babies through adults who get smallpox, die. Now, what we can do today for smallpox is to vaccinate. And I can have you look on a website, which is really kind of cool. Look for Jenner, Jenner, the physician who figured out vaccination. Now, we're living in the Renaissance here. This is 1400 to 1500 are the years. Jenner figured out the vaccination 300 years later. The next thing that could get you is diarrhea. A major cause of diarrhea is cholera. This is a bacteria that contaminates drinking water. And remember, in the Renaissance, we thought that diseases were caused because you were wicked, did something wrong, had some imbalance, or the stars. So in the towns in the Renaissance, they had sometimes common sources of drinking water or just got water out of the streams, and they poured all of their waste into the streams or on the street. So it was very easy for cholera to spread. It Cholera we can vaccinate against. If you go overseas to a place where cholera it still exists today, you can get a vaccination, either a little shot or an oral vaccination. But remember, even a vaccination for cholera doesn't give you 100% immunity. So the real prevention for cholera is to purify your water. And when you travel overseas, peel it, boil it, cook it, or forget it. Cholera kills about 90. If you get cholera, you've got about in the Renaissance time, you have about a 90% chance of dying. The famous condition in the Renaissance that killed is bubonic plague, and it's called the Black Death. It would wipe out whole towns, whole families. The symptom is you'd get a fever and a runny nose, and you just start feeling bad. And then very soon Within hours, you develop these little lumps on your body, usually under your arms, and they're called bubo. And then sometimes within hours or days, you would die. If you get the bubonic plague, you have almost a 100% chance of dying. Here's a picture of a bubo and a picture of a person who has bubonic plague. Interestingly, today, it's still in existence. It's a very rare disease. But if you can diagnose it and catch it early, and if the plague is confined to a bubo, you can treat the plague with antibiotics. You've got to really be on top of it, though. A little aside, our family likes to go whitewater rafting. We were on a whitewater rafting trip in Idaho, and my nephew said, "I have this lump under my arm." And we looked. It was a little sore, and it was a lump that looks just like the one in the picture. He didn't feel too bad, but we just thought, I just said, we'll just kind of take care of it and keep you feeling good and hydrated and not mess around with the lump, not cut it open, which is a good thing. Because interestingly, when they came back from the rafting trip to their home in Los Alamos, New Mexico, the neighbors said, "The public health department's been here and they've torn your backyard apart, your wood pile apart, and searched your house." And my nephew's mom remembered that he had felt kind of sick about 2 weeks before the rafting trip, and they had done all kinds of cultures, and the culture had come back for bubonic plague. So we were unknowingly on a rafting trip with case number 5 from New Mexico of bubonic plague that year. Fortunately, it was confined to a bubo. And if that bubo had burst and the germs had gotten into his lungs, it would have been almost 100% fatal. So life in the Renaissance was pretty risky. If you made it past childhood and stayed pretty healthy, you could live to an old age, but life expectancy was approximately 30 to 40 years of age. Thank you.